Counselor David G. Romero.
Present.
Counselor Barbara Casey.
Here.
Counselor Vincent Howell.
Here.
Counselor David A. Ulibarri Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilor Ulibarri, do you want to take a silence?
A moment of silence for a great man that was here for a lot of years. We all knew him, Cipriano Aguilar, just passed away a few weeks ago, or a month ago, I'm not sure. Keep him in his prayers, his family. Amen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Romero.
I just had one question. I know I had requested at the work session as to the recommendation from city manager on director positions. I don't know if there was a reason as to why that was.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, may I answer? Councilor Romero, I did, and I have it on my city manager's report. I was working on it. I didn't get to the completion of it, but I will be bringing those to you by February.
Okay.
I apologize. It's been a rough winter.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, I also have a question. We've been asking continually about the approval of personnel into interim positions that are supposed to be brought before the council. And I know that the city manager has the authority to do that. However, and I'm going to ask our city attorney to please review different documents because they all contradict each other or they don't address the issue at all. But in the governing rules of procedure, it does state under 2.5 approvals, under A, it says those items requiring approval by the governing body shall include but not be limited to, and under part 3 of that says approval for any and all action regarding the hiring, promotions, demotions, terminations, and or changes in personnel, compensation, inclusive of all permanent, temporary, seasonal, part-time, or emergency hires. And I know that the personnel ordinance states that the city manager can move people into interim positions, and those positions are supposed to be interim only for 6 months, and then they can be extended month by month. Those should have all come before the council also, because some of them have never come before the council at all. And so I would like to have some kind of direction as to know what are we going to be functioning by, because we have not followed the charter specifically the way it's supposed to be. We haven't followed the governing rules of procedure the way they're supposed to be, and we're not following ordinance like we're supposed to be. So we need to make a decision. We need to act on these before we go any further. We've already gone 1.5 years doing the same thing that really makes me wonder, what are we doing? And so we really need to make a determination as to what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and we need to do it soon.
I'll defer that to the city attorney.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, there are some discrepancies in the governing body rule of procedures. I have started the process of reviewing this. I'm meeting with the city clerk. She has a lot of background on some older versions, and we will prepare, we're all preparing to the council.
Thank you very much.
Can we have that by next month?
Yes, by next meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
No further questions, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much.
With that, Madam Mayor, approval of the agenda as presented.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Casey,
Yes.
Counselor Romero,
Yes.
Counselor Howell,
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Casey and Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is the approval of the minutes for December the 12th, a special meeting, December the 12th work session, and December 19th, 2018
As amended?
minutes.
Madam Mayor, there were no
Amendments?
there were no errors in the
Okay.
minutes.
No amendments. Okay, thank you very much. Do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes for December 12th special meeting, December 12th work session, and December 19th regular meeting.
Do I have a second? Roll call.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the second. Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
Counselor Romero,
Yes.
Counselor Casey,
Yes.
Counselor Howell.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is mayor's appointments and
I
reports.
don't believe we have any at this point.
Mayor's recognitions, proclamations.
I don't believe we have any of those either.
The next item on the agenda is public input. The first one is Mr. Oliver Esperance regarding Samaritan House relocating. Mr. Esperance, you may come over.
Good evening, Mr. Lesperance. How are you?
Madam Mayor, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
today? Good to see you.
Madam Mayor, councilors, thank you for having me today, and I just want to take a moment. I want to say that I represent some concerned citizens with the move of the Samaritan House to 501 7th Street, which is located directly across the street from a public park. And several people have come to me and asked what can be done. They're concerned with the safety of the children that play at the park, that have soccer practice at the park. And it's people that are not opposed to a homeless shelter or a food bank, items that are certainly vital to our community. But they're concerned with the fact that transients get off a bus, a train from Denver, Albuquerque, not knowing their background legally or illegally. And we see these people, these transients walking around all day, and they're not all our local citizens. They are people that are coming from other places. And people, myself included, are very concerned with the safety of the children that are playing across the street. And I understand it's not an agenda item tonight, but these issues will be presented to you. And I ask that you please take this into account when making these decisions that affect the safety of our children. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Lesperance. The next person is Tina Sion. Sione. Miss Sione. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good evening.
Hello, Madam Mayor and your city councilmen and everyone else. Thank you for the opportunity that I was given to come and speak to you all. I came here first to talk about, just to invite you all to our community opiate that's going on this Saturday. It'll be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at New Mexico Highlands University. I'm pretty sure you all are aware that we're trying to bring in a detox as well as a treatment center. There's a lot of things going on. I'm also an investigator for Children, Youth, and Family Department, and so I'm very aware of a lot of things that's going on as an investigator. I also work a lot with a lot of these folks behind me. There's a lot of manpower and women power in here. And I hope that we can bring a lot of unity within this community. I'm not originally from here. I'm just an island girl from California who moved here 7 years ago. And when me and my family had a tragic loss, this community came together and helped build my family. And so I hope that our community can come together and put aside our differences and work together so that we can accomplish many things and implement. We need like more stuff for the youth. We need more things for the youth of the young children. I remember when, I'm not trying to discredit anyone, but when I think the Mayor Ortiz, he handpicked a few of us within the community that were not from here to improvise or try to come up with certain solutions or certain activities for the youth of Las Vegas, New Mexico, and surrounding areas. And so I hope we can come together and do that because, with your leadership, I hope you remember me when I was a student body president at New Mexico Highlands. You came, also Vince Howell, and we were able to help you folks accomplish what you're at now. And so I'm very thankful for that. But I hope that we can all put our differences aside, and whatever that I see on social media, you know, that's between y'all and all the other, but we need to come together as a community. That's why at the end of community, it's UNITY. So thank you for the opportunity, and I hope to see you guys all Saturday. There is free lunch from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That concludes our public input. Madam Mayor, members of the council, the next item is presentations. First presentation is by Police Chief Dave Bibb on the appointments to commander positions. Chief Bibb.
Madam Mayor, honorable councilors, with your indulgence, I'd like to call Commander Pam Sandoval and Commander Steve Pacheco front and center. I can't tell you how proud I am to be their chief, and I know how proud each and every one of you are to be leaders of these two fine individuals. I can tell you that the selection process that we had was not an easy one, so there is no handout being afforded. It consisted of a very rigorous records review, a resume, and an oral board, which consisted of Mr. Montalban from the Police Oversight Committee, the Chief of Police from Highlands University, Clarence Romero, Sheriff Chris Lopez of the Sheriff's Department, and Captain Javier Moncada from State Police. So I can say that these two individuals are what the law enforcement community looks for in the position of being commander. So with your indulgence, I'd like to call forward their loved ones to appropriately pin on their badge of office.
Absolutely, and I really want to commend you, Chief Bibb. First of all, you did select an two outstanding commanders. We are very proud of this individuals. They've been with the force for a long time. They've paid their dues, and they have done an outstanding job for the force. Also, something that we've kind of not highlighted here is that I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this is the first time ever that you, as a chief, have promoted a female commander. Is that correct? Congratulations.
It's up to family. So Commander Sandoval, Commander Pacheco, if you're front and center, so that I may officially introduce to Mayor and Council, Commander Pam Sandoval, Commander Steve Pacheco.
Thank you. Boy, that guy sure is tall.
All of us?
Watch your hand. Watch your hand. Watch your hand. Uh-oh. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next presentation is presentation by Police Chief Dave Bibb on certificates of appreciation for police personnel.
Madam Mayor, esteemed councilors, if I may call front and center the following officers who I will describe as high flyers and great achievers for the Las Vegas Police Department. These officers were nominated by their supervisor as being exceptional at their efforts. Officer Esteban Baca, front and center. Officer David Varela. Officer Esteban Martinez. Officer Gerardo Lozano. Officer Darren Romero. Officer Daniel Casados. Sergeant David Trujillo. Sergeant Michael Ortega. Officer Xavier Smith. Gentlemen, if you'll about face.
Congratulations, each and every one of you. We are so proud and so honored to have you here before us. I commend you for the incredible hard work that each and every one of you does, going out there every single day, putting your lives on the line for us. We're so fortunate to have each and every one of you, and the best that I can say is congratulations, be safe, take care of each other, and do the best and do right by your community, because we respect you, we support you, and we're here for you. Congratulations. 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 Good job. thank you, Chief Bibb, as well for an
Ma'am, if I may say, that
Absolutely.
these officers bring a winning combination. They love law enforcement and they love Las Vegas.
Thank
and
you
I'm
very
proud of
much,
them.
Chief. Thank you very much.
The next presentation, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is the presentation of the electric parade for business decorating contest. We have Ms. Virginia Marujo and Angie Lester. You're looking at me weird.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, Madam Manager. So tonight we're going to be doing a presentation of the Electric Light Parade Awards. We have quite a few, so we're going to try to go through them really fast. We also want to honor two very special people that we have for our Electric Light Parade. And Angie and Zach are going to do the presentations because I'm going to.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all that you do. Each and every one of us. Have a great
And Angie's going to present these. We just ask that those winners come up and receive your awards.
Congratulations, 12 winners. Have best of team, and best community coach and village. Best musical float, rock around the drums. Thank you. I didn't want to try. Best automotive, Players Park Club. We would also like to thank Players Park Club for donating coats for kids at our tree lighting ceremony. Thank you very much. We have our traveling trophy for first place best business, Highlands Record Service. They were determined to win. They asked me not to pick it up. They said they were going to keep it anyway. Second place, best business, Bentley Best Construction. Third place, best business, Community First Bank. And we have the City of Las Vegas Department Awards. First,
Wait, hold on, before you do that one. Just a real quick announcement about the city float awards. We challenged each department so that we get everybody more involved with the electric light parade, and so we challenged every department to do a float. And I'm very excited because we didn't have everybody, but maybe next year we will. We have 4 departments that do participate. So, thank you.
City of Las Vegas Department Awards. First place is Rough Rider Museum. Second place, Fire Department. Community Development. First place for Business Decorating Contest is Pete's Bakery and Cafe. Second place, Libari Farms Candy. Third place, Plaza Hotel. Home Decorating Contest winner is Dennis Romero on Medina Lane. And we have award for our Grand Marshal and also our Junior Grand Marshal.
Before we call these individuals up, our theme this year was the Jolly Rockin' Christmas, and we really thought about who these two individuals were going to be. Well, we thought about our Grand Marshal, and then we said, well, why not have a Junior Grand Marshal, because he's just been there in the community promoting everything he can for youth and regional motivation and inspiration to everybody else. So for that, the first one I just want to call up is our Junior Grand Marshal, Gabriel Jr. And then the next one we want to call up, and he couldn't be here today, but we do have his daughters here to accept his award. That's Mr. Gonzalo.
Thank you to the judges from the Veterans Center.
Also, I didn't mention, but Gabriel Jr. Could be at the Hispano Award, right? Mexico Hispano Award, and so he got nominated. He'll be there on Saturday. So that's another.
I have a feeling. It's right. Good job. Good job.
I know you tried. I know you did. Next item on the agenda is a presentation by the gas superintendent, Mr. David Marquez, gas division for the annual public awareness required of the PRC, Regulation Commission. Mr. Marquez.
And I'll introduce, City Manager already introduced him, but I'm the Utilities Director, Ray Gilberry, Mayor, Councilors, Madam Manager. The PRC does have a requirement for a presentation to the community leadership, and Mr. Marquez will be giving that presentation, and I will be putting the computer to work. Yes, go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Thank you for the opportunity to be able to come and present this in front of you guys. Thank you guys for the chance. Appreciate it. For those of you guys don't know me, my name is David Marquez. I'm a utility superintendent for the natural gas division at Utilities. We're here to present and address requirements to meet the PRC with our public awareness. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We have 10 minutes, so I'm going to read through it on my end, and I'm going to go through briefly as possible in detail on what we need to get into as well. So, the City of Las Vegas Gas Division operates and maintains 110 miles of steel and plastic lines. This consists of distribution and transmission line. Our pipelines are regulated by Public Regulation Commissions, PRC. The City of Las Vegas strives to ensure safe, reliable natural gas services by complying with all state and federal regulations, the operation and maintenance of all gas facilities in the Las Vegas area. Our purpose: Public Regulation Commission requires gas divisions to hold public awareness campaigns for the community members and municipal leadership. The areas that we must cover include the system purpose, hazards, mitigations, and emergency preparedness communication. Gas Division holds community presentations annually to discuss the importance of calling 811 before you dig, as well as the hazards that can occur with improper digging. Staff are required to provide the same information to local public officials every 3 years. System summary. Let's review the City of Las Vegas gas system. The City of Las Vegas is responsible for 50 miles of 8-inch steel transmission from Colmar to Las Vegas. Natural gas is delivered to both residential and commercial customers in Waggaman, Los Angeles, and Las Vegas. Natural gas is received by the city at the main regulator station on Mullins. The pressure is received at approximately 270 pounds, 275 pounds. Our MAOP, our maximum allowable operating pressure, is 300 pounds. And it is reduced to 60 pounds when leaving the station. The operating pressure are additionally reduced to a range of 30 to 60 pounds at 4 other pressure regulator stations around our community. The residential customer receives the gas at approximately 4 ounces of pressure. Commercial ranges generally from 1 to 10 pounds. The pressure regulator stations are vital to the safe operation of the entire pipeline system and are properly secured with locked gates and fencing, as well as locked doors, to prevent any unauthorized access to any of our facilities. There are 27 miles of steel line and 87 miles of polyethylene natural gas pipeline within the Las Vegas area. These lines range from 1-inch to 8-inch polyethylene and steel lines. Staff are currently in the process of replacing 350 feet of PVC with polyethylene. This is the last known of our PVC in the distribution system, which is also our weakest infrastructure in our system as well. And I'm proud to say that we should complete that 300 feet by this year. Let's get into the hazards. Now let's review the hazards associated with natural gas. We'll get into damaged gas lines. Damaged gas lines occur when contractors and homeowners dig and hit a gas line. This is easily mitigated by calling 811 to have all underground utilities located. Calling 811 is a New Mexico state law. Customers and contractors can be fined by PRC for the damage. The city does recover the cost of lost gas and labor charges associated with repairing the damage. Carbon monoxide. Lack of applied maintenance contributes to carbon monoxide in homes, businesses, or other facilities. Carbon monoxide is a byproduct of the burning of natural gas. Properly maintained appliances and vent systems will vent the carbon monoxide outside. Improperly maintained appliances could discharge the carbon monoxide into the home or business. If venting is disturbed during any construction or rehabilitation in homes and not restored, carbon monoxide can discharge into the home. Hairline cracks in the oven box can also allow carbon monoxide to vent in. These are not the only possible causes of carbon monoxide. We do have a theory at the beginning of every January: change out your batteries to your CO detectors and update them if necessary when possible. Gas leaks. Gas leaks can occur due to corrosion, age, improper repairs, and when risers are damaged by vehicles. Vehicle damage has occurred about 12 times a year. In the last 3 years, we've had about 38 meters that have been damaged by vehicles. Gas can mitigate along gaps in materials. This can increase the severity of the situation due to the time it takes staff to investigate and probe for the source of the gas leak. The earlier report is made, the quicker staff can find the cause and mitigate the dangers. If you're in the area and you happen to find a gas line hissing, or you hear it blowing, or you get the odor of rotten eggs, give us a call at utilities, even call City Hall, or call 911. We work hand in hand with first responders, and we mitigate together perfectly. So any odors or sounds, contact 911 will immediately be contacted and get assisted by our emergency units and contain any possible hazard that may be occurring. Mitigation, 811, there are ways to mitigate the previously mentioned hazards. Contractors and homeowners damage gas lines while digging when they are unaware of the location and depth of utilities. This happens a lot in our community. We have reduced these numbers drastically. In the past, a lot of these contractors didn't know about contacting 811. So their first automatic response was to try to just dig out whether it was replacing a fence, an old water line. And we had these instances in the past where we'd have a gas line damaged or even erupted by an uncalled line location. So we are preaching and we are setting up classes. We have a class set up right now for next month to get with our local contractors, our local landscapers, our operators within the city, county, state. And we host a class. Last class we had was 85 contractors in, and they're spreading the word and assisting the city as well with assisting with the 811. So it's been a blessing for the community. I want to get in a little bit more about the carbon monoxide. Gas Division recommends everyone to obtain a working carbon monoxide. I think I got it down, sorry. Let's get into emergency communications. Yes. Who to call, when, who to call. 911 is the first to be contacted in case of an emergency. Dispatch will contact first responders such as fire and police and gas on call. Gas on call is responsible to isolate the damaged portion of the gas system and make the area safe. On call must respond within 15 minutes. Gas Division management will contact PRC within a 24-hour period and report the incident and status. If there is a death involved, the Gas Division must report PRC within 2 hours. PRC will then send out their investigation team. To ensure that only certified personnel operate the gas system to isolate the leak, it is critical that Gas Division is notified immediately when there is a possible incident regarding natural gas. Reporting inspection. There are regular reports and inspections performed by the city required by PRC and verified through audits. PRC performs a public awareness audit every 5 years to ensure that presentations and print information are provided to customers, contractors, and public officials. PRC performs operator qualification tasks, audits annually to ensure that staff meet requirements and are able to perform tasks and duties according to regulations. Odor inspection occurs once a month. Odor is injected into Comar from Denver, and staff to inspect the odor levels on the first of each month to ensure levels are not too high, giving off a false reading of a possible leak, or too low, where a gas leak cannot be detected or smelled. Leak surveys occur annually to locate hard to find gas leaks and we perform repairs to be proactive and keep the community safe. The audit protection inspection occurs annually to ensure that the cathodic system is operating within the specifications. Third-party damage reports provide PRC with the list of contractors or homeowners that have damaged gas lines to hold them accountable and ensure that they're obtaining the training they need to mitigate future damage. How to get additional information. For further information, contact the city gas staff at 505-454-0265. If there's any more questions or concerns, please contact myself or Jude Herrera, who is also a utility superintendent, or our gas manager, Kenny Lucero. We do have a great team with the gas. Our main goal is to provide a safe and healthy utility service to our community. And we are pushing every day to try to strive to keep our community safe And we're constantly spinning our wheels to try to look at the future for the city and to try to set up courses as well, starting from our youth all the way up to our local contractors, landscapers, like I mentioned earlier. And we just want to keep providing a safe and healthy utility service to our fellow community. And with that being said, thank you guys for having us here and being able to give a little bit of our public awareness to you all.
Does anybody have any questions or
Questions, comments?
I just want to thank you because I don't know what number to call, one. And so whenever a constituent calls me with an issue, I tell them call the police if it's after hours.
Yes.
And in every instant that I have called for a constituent, they have been there within 15 minutes.
Awesome.
And the people that come are professional. They know what they're doing. They explain things to the people, and that really helps relieve the stress and fear, blowing up with gas in your house. And so we appreciate that very much. And I want to say thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that compliment. Appreciate that.
You guys do a great job. And Maria, you're leading the team. Keep it up, of course. This is very important to the city and also to the constituents that they all have. And I know what it's like when you smell something and when you hear something and stay in panic with your family and children. It's very difficult.
Exactly.
Thank you for all that you do. We appreciate all your service.
It's a really good team, and one thing, I'm proud of all of them. One thing I want to make sure the community is well aware of, and I said this on the radio today, is each one of these gentlemen that works in our gas system, for that matter in our water and wastewater systems, are certified. They're certified by the state. They're certified by entities that are responsible to make sure that these gentlemen have all the training that they need, and they're held to a very high standard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go get it.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. Thank you. The next presentation is the presentation of the Solid Waste Division Recycling Program Status Assessment, and we have Ms. Gilbert.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilors, Madam Manager. I'm going to try and do a very quick overview on our recycling assessment. It's still in progress, but the purpose of this is to explain a little process, discuss the financials, the challenges, the benefits, a little bit of the Facebook benefits, feasible options, and the public support. So the path of recyclables, first thing right now is we are collecting aluminum, cardboard, and metals. We are not collecting plastics, paper, and glass. And the quick reason for that is our vendors are not taking it. As long as our vendors aren't taking it and there's no revenue, there's no way to cover the costs of that particular recyclable. So the path of recyclables, we have collection sites at the transfer station, and we do still have commercial bins around town for the recyclables that we do collect. Once it is collected, we deliver them to a local vendor. That local vendor gets a mix of metals. We have the metals are in a single stream, so we blend them all together to the vendor. Cardboard is separated. Once that is collected at the vendor will then deliver, and it is bundled to the vendor. The vendor will deliver it to a material facility. I believe they use the one in Santa Fe. At that point, the recyclable is hand sorted and cleaned. This becomes a very time-consuming and costly portion of the recycling process, especially if the recyclables are contaminated. When cardboard comes in and their pizza boxes, it can contaminate the entire collection. Same thing with any kind of metals. It's easier to clean the metals, but with the cardboard or the plastics or anything that we've been recycling in the past, if it comes in contaminated, it can actually come back to the city with a bill. We can actually deliver recyclables back to our door, and now you need to pay us a certain amount of money because we couldn't recycle the materials. After that, it's stored until the buyer is found. We use a facility down in Albuquerque, and I had some overhead pictures I wasn't able to put in this presentation. Their parking lot currently completely overflowing with recyclables because they haven't been able to pass them on to a company to use them. When they are able to be used, then they're delivered to that company to be recycled. Many times it's a foreign country that uses our recyclables. It is a costly process because it's labor intensive. It takes a lot of manual labor to clean the recyclables. It takes special equipment to be able to separate the recyclables. And in the case of workforce service, which is something we're shooting for, our goal is to eventually get to workforce service and be able to do curbside. It is a completely separate route, so the truck will run the same route that they run for trash service. They'll run the same route for recycling, so that then doubles the mileage and doubles the number of hours spent completing these routes. And currently, just with trash pickup, we take 4 to 4.5 days of 8 to 10 hour days to be able to pick up the trash service. The financials, currently, with how we're handling it now, we spend about $700 per month on labor expenses, and that's for our a labor employee to go through materials and help to bundle it. And then we spend about $1,000 on equipment used maintenance for bundling or for the vehicles that we use to go pick up the recyclables. The cost to dispose of trash that we take up to Waggaman or Estancia is roughly $85 per ton. And that includes the landfill charges, the labor, the equipment, and these are all paid for by customers and residents in their solid waste. The cost to recycle runs from $120 to $334 per ton. So it can be up to 4 times the cost to recycle as it is to throw something away. That does cover the collections, the bundling, the delivery, and in many communities, the customers also cover this cost either in their bills or in the revenues from the recyclables. Currently, the revenues, the price list we've been given is that plastics are worth $0. You get absolutely nothing for our plastics. Cardboard is $70 per ton. Metals are $110. Aluminum is $1,200 per ton. Aluminum is something we've been recycling for generations, and it is still one of the best recycling materials and the best paid return on. Some of our challenges: in January 1st, 2018, China banned importing of what they called foreign garbage. When they were getting our recyclables, it was coming in literally straight from somebody's trash can, bundled and sent over to China. So it had food mixed in with it, it had other types of materials or trash mixed in with it. The plastics weren't separated, and there was an actual documentary done on it where it made China look like the dumping grounds for America. Kind of became offended by that and then closed their doors to Americans' recyclables, which was about a 17% impact. So there were still other places to take our recyclables, but that 17% is no longer able to go to China without basically cleaning all of the recyclables before we sent them over. Which results in the contamination fee that I mentioned before, because now it's being stopped in Santa Fe, or it's being stopped at some of the other facilities that are the steps along the way. They're starting to stop it and say, if it doesn't come to us clean enough for a country like China to take it off our hands, then we don't want it. So that, again, that has resulted in some fees, fines for contamination. And this is anecdotal because we've actually, as everybody knows, we've stopped collecting plastics because we were having zero return on the plastics. And we were told by our vendor that they would give us $0 for it, even though it would cost us $100 or more to be able to bundle it. Nationwide, only 9% of recyclables are recycled, which is amazing that with everything that we have, with all the goals, the plans for plastics over the last 20 years, that Coca-Cola and Pepsi and all companies making plastic items promised that they would recycle those plastics. It turns out that it's too cost inefficient for even Coca-Cola and Pepsi to do it, so they stopped recycling plastics. So the cost-benefit ratio is continuing to increase. The cost is increasing, the benefit is not increasing proportionally. One of the reminders is when we were discussing this years ago, and it constantly is brought back before the community, it's reuse, reduce, recycle. So we kind of get out of the reuse and reduce portion, and we go straight to let's just recycle everything. So this is a reminder that the first thing we need to do is, when we can, reuse products. When it's something that you can reuse and you don't throw it away, and we don't need to make a single-use plastic item, let's try and reuse it. The other thing is to reduce consumption. For the community, if there are things that they can reduce their consumption of plastic items, that will also greatly benefit the impact of the landfill that we have. Consumption has drastically been increasing. In 2002, there's been an increase between 2002 and 2015, the population went up 15%. Using plastic went up 61%. So plastics have become the go-to for everything, whether it's packaging, whether it's drinks, no matter what it is, it seems like plastic is, as they were planning 20, 30 years ago, the wave of the future. Unfortunately, the recycling plan hasn't kept up with use. 300 million tons of plastics are used annually, 150 million of them, so half of it is single use. One bottle, drink it, throw it away. 3.8 billion water bottles were produced in 1996, 57 billion bottles were produced in 2014. Soda bottles had a drastic increase, so that has been probably the biggest impact. As you can see from this graph, it's just become exponentially increasing in the use of plastics. Those are challenges that we're dealing with. There are actually a lot of things that are done with plastics. Plastics are used in some asphalt material mixes, landscaping, construction. As a matter of fact, building a house right now, and one of the things we've already committed to is all of our decking will all be plastic. That's been around and been improved on greatly over the last 20 years. So there are a lot of things to be done with plastics. We still need to make sure that we still need to get it to the vendors, but the vendors need to have a use of them. And if we have a lot more plastics than uses, then we're going to end up with all these plastics back in the landfill, which is what's happening right now. But plastics can be used for toothbrushes, pens, clothing, so many things. And these are recycled plastics if there's the business to do it. The reality, though, and one of the statements that I did mention, we do use plastics for roadways. The problem with that is it has to be the exact same plastics. So if they're all type 1s, type 2s, you start blending the different types of plastic, it causes an issue with the asphalt. The other concern that has started to the forefront is that over time, those plastics do break down, they become microplastics, and now you have plastics going into the environment, going into the ground, and these roadways shifting, resulting in cracks because the plastics are giving away before the asphalt does. So there are benefits, but there are also consequences and negatives to it. I already went over all the places that we can use it. Other people are currently doing, for instance, universities, they are continuing to recycle. Highlands University is doing a tremendous job of recycling. They're using their students to help take all recyclables, all plastics, and clean them and put them into the condition that a country like China would accept. We don't have that kind of staffing that the Highlands does. I have one employee that actually goes through materials, and he can't spend all day taking the paper off, making sure that the lid, you actually have to take the lids off. And I have to break it down and make sure that it's not contaminated with anything else. I currently do not have the staffing to be able to handle that in addition to their other jobs with picking up trash. So kudos to Highlands, but Carmen is doing there, they're doing a really good job. They do happen to have a little bit of an extra resource that we don't have, and the other is the funding side. Universities take money from different departments, and they can get money around for the cost of recycling, the losses associated with the recycling. And the city, per our ordinance, says that it is to be funded by the revenues from the recycling. So we don't take money from any other service. We don't take it from the trash service. We take from the revenues from recycling, and if we can't afford it, then we're going to have to look for an alternative. Municipalities are ceasing collecting and processing it. If it's not beneficial, if it doesn't generate revenue, if it doesn't keep up with expenses, then they're having to do it. Or they charge customers a monthly fee. And I believe Santa Fe is about ready to increase their service fee for their customers so that they can keep up with the increased costs of recycling. So again, our priorities, let's reuse what we can and then reduce what we can before we spend so much time trying to recycle. If we can get through the reduced part, then maybe we'll have less that we have to recycle. So our options that we're currently looking at, and the city by no means, myself by no means want to give up on the recycling program. We want to find a way to move through these challenges. So we can continue as is and find a way to fund the additional costs being funded by plastics. The one contingency, though, is the vendor does not accept plastics from us, then we don't have an option. If they say, no, we don't want your plastics, then we can't do anything about it. If they say, we'll give you $0 for it, then there's still an option there. We can give it to them for free, but we have to find a way to pay for the cost of everything that it took to get that bundle to the vendor. The other thing we can look at is potentially charging customers. And in our current code, states there will be a no net cost of service. So that means everything had to be included in the revenues from the recyclables. But there was a statement listed in our code that says there may be a possible or potential surcharge in the future, and that would go before council. If that is a possibility and that's the only way we can continue with our recycling to protect our environment, I may have to come back to the council and ask for approval on a surcharge for customers so that we can fund our recycling program. Before I would do that, I would make sure I had a really good analysis done on the actual down to the dollar cost for this recycling, so that we weren't asking more from our customers than we needed to be able to keep up with the recyclables. The other option would be to recycle what we can and dispose of the rest. That's not really what we want to do. It takes up too much space in our landfills. But at $85 per ton to throw something away or $300 per ton to recycle it, we do have to look at the cost. And the other thing is to look at hiring additional staffing. So I think there's a combination of all these options that we're going to be working towards. I may need to hire some additional staffing, laborers, bring some laborers in, part-time maybe, to be able to help to put our bundles into a more pure state, so that maybe our vendor will then accept them from us, and we'll be able to at least get them out of our landfill and not add them to our landfill. And not directly but indirectly, I'm going to continue to reevaluate the curbside. I had curbside when I lived in San Antonio. I had curbside when I lived in Virginia. It's a great service. Once everybody gets on board, it can sustain itself. When everybody knows how to recycle properly. If people treat a recycling bin like a trash bin, then all it becomes is trash, and it's too costly to try and separate and clean everything. When I lived in Japan, if a cardboard entered the plastics recycling bin, you got a fine on your next bill. Just because a clean piece of cardboard connected with a clean piece of plastic, they still consider that contamination, and every resident would get a fine. So it took some time to train people. Especially the Americans that were living in Japan. It took a little bit longer for us to get trained, but when you get a fine, you start to learn pretty quickly to keep your cardboard separated from your plastics, and do not put pizza boxes in with the cardboard. So if there are any questions, I'd like to first say I definitely do not want to give up on plastics. I do not want to give up on the recycling. Meredith Britt is part of our Utility Advisory Committee. She provides great information and great questions, and she pushes me really hard on this. We want to keep up with this. I do have to make sure we're taking into consideration the cost of recycling and how it's going to be paid for and what is the benefit. There's always a benefit to the environment by keeping it out, but I do have to also look at the dollar amount and how that's impacting our customers.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gilberry. We're on 5 minutes. It's over. Sorry. It's okay. Let's get moving.
That's a question.
Okay, Councilor Howell has a question.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Gilberry, the Highlands plastic program that they're doing, what's the revenue from them?
I don't have an answer on that. I know that they were not getting a lot of money. I think it was down to like $7 per.
So is it a losing proposition for them?
Yes. They are spending more on the cost to bundle an item, bundle the plastics than they receive from the plastics. Okay. It's roughly, on our calculations, when we calculate our labor, it's like I said, it's $100, $150 to bundle, and they're getting $7. And the only reason they're getting $7 is because they're going above and beyond to clean and make sure that those bundles are pure. And if you don't make them pure, then the vendor looks at you, which is the city right now, and me, and saying, no, I'm giving you nothing for that, because I would have to now spend $100 in labor to clean those bundles to get them to be able to make $7. So it's not a good business. From a business perspective, it's not good. Spend $100 so you can make $7.
So it's unfortunate that we're putting all this stuff back into the landfill.
It is. Those plastics take 400 years to even possibly break down, and they're really probably never going to truly break down. The one recommendation, and I know it's what I'm trying to do right now, we're back to buying aluminum. I'm buying all my sodas in aluminum again. I did actually buy a plastic bottle the other day, and I unfortunately still have all my water in plastic, but I'm trying to buy everything in aluminum. I've set up aluminum collection sites at our facility there at Utilities, and I'm trying to encourage my staff to go back to aluminum. So anybody who can help with that, if community members will start buying aluminum again, there's still money there. There is money in aluminum. There is no money in plastics. Not on this side of it.
Thank you.
Councilor Romero.
Just a question as to the Keep America Beautiful program. Do you not have a coordinator anymore, or?
Not at this time.
And
No,
the
we're
other-
working on getting it. We've had one of our employees communicating with the federal Keep America Beautiful program coordinators to work on getting our Keep America back going again.
I was just wondering if maybe federally, maybe they had stopped the funding on that?
Other than connected to the furlough, I don't believe so. I think they're still pushing to Keep America
And the other
Beautiful.
question that I had as far as the community service, I know there was a time that community service programs were helping out there. Is it just not that many individuals doing community service anymore?
We still do get assigned community service to the solid waste facility, and we use them up there for whatever it is, whether it's bundling or whether it's cleaning the
But
facility.
it's not
or-
consistent? No.
Any other questions? Councilor Levi.
Maria. How much tonnage can you keep in the facility before you sell it to the vendor?
Zero.
Zero?
We are 24 hours. We have to get trash out of there within 24 hours. We are not a storage site. We're a transfer station, so we are required by our permit to get trash out within 24 hours. Weekends are the exception. But if I store something for more than 24 hours, I'll get a
I'm
violation.
talking about metal, metal that you bring.
We're supposed to get
It's-
it out. Yeah. Our permit does
You
not
can't-
allow for
you
us to
can't-
store.
You can say, well, I'm gonna wait 6 months and have maybe 20 tons,
Yeah.
30 tons. or-
We're not supposed to. For instance, we tried that with vehicles, and they've been there, and the Environment Department has been telling me every time they come down that they're going to give me a violation, because the entire time we had vehicles there, that were being stored, we were in violation of our permit.
Because the way I run my business is because I do have a recycling business too, and I do have a dispounding business, and I do sell a lot of metals, and I can keep them there for years, and I don't get fined for them,
Correct.
as long as I.
So that would be up to, we're not in a business here. We're actually trying to collect the trash, get rid of the trash, get rid of the recyclables, get it off our hands, give it to a vendor, give it to a businessman, give it to somebody who can do something with it, and we're not in the business of storing or trying to find a better dollar amount, or even trying to find something to do with it, making
It's because the reason I do it is because I sometimes I take 6 months, a year, 2 years to sell my metal, and the thing is that I'm not going to sell my metal for 4 cents a pound.
Right.
I'm going to make sure that I sell it in great.
The city needs to get rid of whatever we have,
Yeah.
and then a private business owner can hold it as long as they want to, but we can't.
Could you, is there another place that you could store it, or they don't let you do that?
Anecdotally, I know we've stored materials for the city in other places, and usually the Environment Department finds it and then comes and tells us it can't be there. So, in my experience, no, the city is not a place for storing anything. It's
Because,
take it in, get rid of it, and
metal
let
prices go
private
up and down.
business handle the profit making.
Metal prices go up and down. Sometimes
They do.
they're at good price, and that's someone, I'm just thinking of something. So, thank you.
Actually, and we usually do pretty good on metals, no matter when we get it. If we get the metals and we get rid of them, we've usually made a profit there, or at least covered the cost. Because we're really not trying to make a profit, we're just trying to cover the cost of the expenses.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's continue. Thank you very much, Ms. Delary.
Next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is the city manager's report. We've experienced some snowstorms. We have, I think we're going to have a beautiful spring season because it's, according to utilities, to Maria, she had indicated that there was about 30 inches of snow up on the hillside. So we are going to be doing quite well. But in the meantime, we've had some struggles. 3 of those snowstorms came to us back to back at the end of December, and so along with that, we had severe cold weather that really hampered our water situation, along with some of our water tanks. And so I think we are finally getting a handle on it. We're looking at some recovery. We're expecting a storm on Friday and Saturday. We're ready. Staff is ready. and we continue to assist utilities with any of the water leaks. We did have one on North Gonzales today. I think that one got repaired, and so we're going to continue to work on those water leaks. The expansion of the water pipes really hinder us a lot of times and hinder our water systems, and so we're going to keep doing that, and hopefully we get our 5 million gallon tank back, and we're able to start restoring some water and storing water in the water tank so that we can get away from some of these issues where some community members are without water. Safety trainings are we continue with safety trainings. One will be held tomorrow at council chambers. We're also working with the police department. They are going to be offering some safety trainings as well for our employees. And so we're going to be coordinating with them as well as far as the safety trainings. The library literacy fair will be held on January 26, 2019. And the library has also received information that they will have their tax forms, federal tax forms, even though federal government is closed. He has several boxes, I guess.
If I may, we've received all of the 1040 forms. We're waiting on instruction booklets, and we've also received the state. So we're waiting on the instruction booklets and any other schedules that go along with the 1040, since the IRS this year did do away with the 1040A and the 1040BZ.
So we'll be publishing that as well on our website, as well as with the Las Vegas Optic. The pool has been open for about 2 weeks. We still have some issues with the slide, but other than that, the pool is up and running. Our boiler systems are up and running. We did request funding from the legislature for the boilers. We are going to have, the staff will be going into Santa Fe to register our legislative requests, and then we'll be disseminating them over to you so that we can all take a look at them, talk to our legislators, make a few trips down to Santa Fe if you're there during the 60-day session. We have, we're looking at requesting funding for the Hot Springs Boulevard project, our fire apparatus, and then of course our boiler systems at the recreation center. Those are our priorities. We're also looking for some money for the senior programs, and then of course for the Gainas Riverwalk as well. And so we have those. Senator Campos has come in and will be sponsoring as a senator. And then Representative Tomas Salazar will be sponsoring our legislation through the representatives. And so we look forward to that as well. The police department, along with other departments, and this was brought to us by the deputy chief, will be assisting in a program called Point in Time Program with the Samaritan House. And so we're going to be disseminating that information to our departments, and it's really to assist with identifying some of the homeless people. And so we want to assist them. Hopefully it helps in them acquiring additional funding for the Samaritan House. And so we're looking forward to that program, and we're going to be engaging employees from the city in helping out with just identifying homeless people, and it's at a very specific time. I believe it's January the 28th. Yes, okay, January 28th. So we're going to be assisting with that program as well. Las Vegas Day, February 28th, 2019. We have our committee meetings. It's involving several community members as well as PECOS and Mora. Am I correct? And so we have been meeting with them, and we will be going to Santa Fe. The staff will be going into Santa Fe the very 1st of February to deliver our invitations and then do other things that we need to do. So that is fast approaching us. We are continuing to monitor any of the federal programs that we have. We have assisted at housing and in holding them to just the monthly operations, payroll, monthly operations that we have. capital funds are not coming in, and so we'll continue to monitor them and then assist them if need be. And so hopefully the federal government isn't closed down for too much longer, but if so, we're ready to assist those federal programs as well. In the future, we're going to be looking at having presentations by the departments as far as the emergency management and what their departments are responsible for. Currently, when we have snowstorms, Chief Bibb, Christy, myself, and fire department, we all coordinate, and we all try to come up with solutions as far as the ice, and is it going to be icy? What time do we need to be there? We've also made contact with the school districts, and so they're involved as well, and they will let us know if they plan to have they'll actually inquire and see if the roads are going to be cleared, how quickly, and public facilities is very good about getting out there and trying to clear out those roads while before school begins. And that's what happened this last time around. We were able to coordinate with them, and it worked out rather well. The code enforcement, we had Levi Lujan who resigned. He is off to the State Police Academy, actually. And so we have Jeremy Padilla? Jeremiah Gutierrez, excuse me. He has been working with Levi and Virginia, and we hope to bring him up to speed as far as code enforcement. The phone system has been installed, as now staff is working on getting the telephone system up and running at the solid waste stations. Job descriptions are here. We're going to have the departments review the job descriptions and then, of course, bring them to Mayor and Council. And I'm hoping to coordinate that with the 2020 budget process as well. Bring those job descriptions, have them approved, reviewed, and then approved by you, and then we'll move forward with our budget process. We're continuing to work with the New Mexico Hall of Fame. I had a short summary from Community Development as far as the New Mexico Hall of Fame, which is going to be housed at Camp Luna, if I'm not mistaken. There is New Mexico Film Week in Santa Fe, February 12th through the 18th, and this group will be sponsoring legislation, so we hope to be part of that as well. I had a question about vacancies. We do have approximately 23 vacancies. There's about 10 to 12 vacancies in utilities. A lot of them are already in process as far as the hiring process is concerned. But they remain posted and open until they are filled, because a lot of times we'll bring in an individual and for whatever reasons we'll need to move on to the next one. So we continue to leave them filled. The senior programs, the senior center I know is one that I looked at. We have difficulties in finding the right personnel for cooks, for drivers. Transportation is now, we're in the process of filling in one of the transportation drivers as well. And so it's a slow process. I'd like to be able to move it a little bit faster, and so I think that I'll be meeting with human resource once again and see how we can move the process a little bit faster. That concludes my city manager's report, unless anyone has any questions.
I have a question. I'll give it to you in a second. On the Samaritan House, what is the status of that, and how is the city tied into Samaritan?
At this point, that we don't have anything tied into the Samaritan. We haven't sponsored them in well over a year and a half because of the licensing issues that we have. So that's where we're at this point.
And more specifically, the question I was thinking of is, how are we going to use staff, and this is what I've heard, but correct me if I'm wrong, within the city to identify homelessness?
Oh, it's just if you're out and about and you can identify someone, why don't I turn that over? Can you speak about it?
Madam Mayor, it's a request from the Samaritan House to identify people who are challenged and are in need of assistance. We're not out hunting for these people. It's if we happen upon them in the course of normal business.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
And also on the question of the IRS did away with certain forms. What forms did they do away? You mentioned 1040A and 1040 Easy. So what forms are going to supplement those forms?
As of right now, it's just schedules.
Schedules?
So I know that they have, in the 1040 booklet right now, it's the 1040 form with schedules 1 through 6.
Okay.
And then, of course, they have to make their schedules as well that we're still waiting to receive.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I don't believe I have any other questions. Councilor Casey.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that in identifying the homeless, the schools used to have federal grants that they got called McKinney-Vento, and those the schools identify all the homeless children. So that's a good resource to go to. They have a list of all those people and where they're located, where they can be found. And so that might be an easy way to not spend a whole lot of time, trying to identify those people because the schools already identify them.
Thank you. I have a question on that. Can they give out names?
They can probably just say, we have these many and they live on these streets or whatever, because I know that, for example, on Keene Street, there's some empty houses there where the CASA program identified some kids that were living there. They were homeless, they had no heat, no water, no electricity, but they would stay there because they didn't have any place else to go. And so those are the kinds of issues. And then the schools would meet with those kids and give them clothing and make sure that they had food and try to get services for them so that they wouldn't be, living in empty buildings like that.
If I could add to that, what they could do is, they might not give you the names, but the information that you have on the resources, they could share those resources with those individuals or the families.
Correct.
And then in return, you won't be able to talk to them directly, but the school themselves,
Right.
they'll be able to.
We would step out as the middleman
Yeah.
and put them in connection with each other.
And all we want to do is assist the program and nothing else. I mean, we wouldn't want to do anything, any harm to anyone. I think we just want to be able to assist in any way that we can with the Samaritan House.
Any other questions, Councilor?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Gallegos, and also, Madam Mayor.
Yes, sir.
In regards to Samaritan House, I understand that when the Samaritan House had received from CID their occupancy certificate, that we would consider funding them. Have we done that? Because they did get their certificate.
They did get their certificate from CID there, and I believe it's through March 15th, if I'm not mistaken.
Why don't we defer this to the chief?
So, Madam Mayor, members of council, they did receive their temporary certificate of occupancy in conjunction with State Fire Marshal's Office and CID, with the understanding that some contingencies are met. I believe that they've been meeting those contingencies, such as fire watch and going through, walking through, making sure that the cots are put away and so forth. So they've met that, and it is until March. By March, we're hoping that the weather improves, and Mr. Lyon said that it kind of dies down as far as the shelter. They'll still do their food pantry and everything like that, but they're looking to get the 7th Street location renovated, up to code and everything by next winter.
And I believe that completion date on that project, if I'm correct, is September of 2019.
That seems right.
Okay. But currently, the county is funding them.
As far as funding, I'm not too sure. I have to.
And I'm wondering why we are not funding them.
That was one of the reasons why, was because they had not gotten their CID.
But now they do.
And if they do, then what we'll do is I'll be glad to take a look at that and,
I really would, I think that would be great because they need all the help we can.
And I want you to know,
Provide.
Counselor Howell, I did talk to your city manager about that. I did follow up with that, because you had a huge concern on that, and, but I believe she's been busy, so hopefully we can get some resolve on that.
absolutely, and we can look at a contract and getting an agreement together. And I'll be glad to bring it back to you.
Also, if, in regards to Mr. Lesperance's comment
Yes, sir.
during public input, if, I don't know if we can go through you, Ms. Gallegos, to inform him that we can set up a meeting with Mr. Lyons to come and talk to his concerned residents or his community members that are stressing that concern. Because that's what I did with a couple of other areas that were really concerned about that. And now they're not as, they don't have as major concerns after the conversation with Mr. Lyons. So maybe we can do that for Mr. Lesperance.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On that, you know, the Samaritan House, that process, when they get their license for that facility, wouldn't that, they have to come before the city still?
They would have to go through planning and zoning at the very least, and then, of course, go through the CID process once again and have the inspections, and so then we would go back to, and I don't know if it would come back to mayor and council, but if it goes to planning and zoning, then of course it does come back to mayor and council.
That does fall within my ward. So I have gotten some calls and concerns and, you know, and a lot of it is because of the children at the park. And I think that's very important for those, you know, for those concerns to be, you know, at least listened to, you know, and if we could, you know, take care of those before all this process. And
I think it's a good idea to at least start having some community meetings, especially in that area, so that they're informed as to what is going to happen and what his plans are, I think. And so I will get a hold of Mr. Lyons and see what his plans are as far as
the next part, and I know it's only a temporary CID, so you might want to check into the legals, you know, as far as funding them, if it's only temporary, because the funding is, you know, it is funded annually and not, so, you know, if it's temporary and let's say they don't fulfill within, because right now they have to turn in like a watch sheet, right? Am I right?
Yes,
they
sir.
check in.
You're correct.
So let's say that doesn't happen and they lose that temporary, you know, what liability does that put with the city if we funded them and they don't meet those? So I think that needs to be
Well,
taken.
that's one of the concerns, I think, the county is to look to, if they are funding them, and they're not a permanent entity at this point in time. That doesn't mean that we don't support them.
Yeah.
We do support them. I want to make that very clear, but I also believe that there's certain conditions that have to be met. I know, Councilor Howell, you have been very good about meeting with them and attempting to help them, and we are doing all we can. And as I've stated to you, had it not been for Mr. Montoya here, the Samaritan would not have received a 90-day stay. And I'm not going to take the credit for that. I have to give Billy all the credit for that. You did an outstanding job in helping him. Thank you for all that you do for the community. We're very grateful to you and very fortunate to have you. But it's also the ball's in his court. So he needs to step and needs to meet certain conditions. And I assure you, Councilor Howell, as I have in the past, that once those conditions are met, fully met, then we can move forward with addressing the funding issue.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
Well, I think we're, no, I don't want to say that. On another subject.
We're not skirting it.
On another subject. In regards to the legislative appropriation requests,
Yes, sir.
the council was not invited to that meeting or the session that you and the mayor and the Representative Salazar was there. And
I
Senator
called for the
Campos.
meeting. I
Right.
called for the meeting, yes.
And we weren't informed. Well, I wasn't informed. I don't know if
We weren't either.
if anybody else was informed. I think that would have been.
Well,
very-
that would have formed a quorum. So that was something that I took upon myself. I've been going to meet with the legislators in Santa Fe, and I don't notify the council of this because that's just something that most mayors do. Historically, or previous mayor did that, and he never essentially informed us of anything, except that this are the requests and
But I-
pretty much what we perform.
But I think that it would have been good also just to inform us and to communicate to us. I think that would have been at least, if the quorum was the concern, then communication
The
to
quorum is
us.
always the concern, Councilor Hall.
So the communication is a concern. I think that would better.
I have been meeting with
But
him,
then-
talking to him.
And
about help, so it's not-
let me apologize because it was probably, I thought I had come to mayor and council and had let you people know that we were going to prepare the legislative requests. I think I actually listed out some of the projects that we were looking at and that we would be meeting with Senator Campos and Representative Salazar. And if I didn't make myself clear, I apologize, because that was probably I erred. I didn't want us not to submit any kind of legislative request. I think it would have been an error on my part. I would really have, I think I should have been held responsible for that, but I did want to move it forward. I wanted them to have the legislative requests, and so I apologize. I should have come to you. And I
Also, I'd like to
apologize for
state that I have been meeting with this
Yes, you have.
legislators outside of the city. We just made it an official request when we had them sign the actual bills in the office. That was it. But I have been meeting with them, I'd say at least every other week.
Well, we appreciate that. I mean,
Well, that's my duty.
Yeah.
Of course, it
Right.
is as
It's
well.
just,
You
it's
have
just
the right to meet
disheartening
with them
to
as well.
read it in the newspaper without it being told to us. That's all. That was the point. But on that, the appropriation request,
Yes, sir.
you had mentioned that the boilers were in there. And we spent, what, millions of dollars to rehab the rec center?
We
And
did.
now we're looking for boilers?
Now, that was a statement that Troy Dennison made on one of the Facebook posts that, could you guys clarify for me if you spent $5 million at the rec center, why you are now purchasing boilers? I believe that when we went through the process of getting the money and the funding, securing the funding for the rec center, the boilers were not included as part of that because we didn't have the money and the boilers were still operating. Could you explain?
They were still operable. And so we we did not include the boilers in the project. And actually, what we actually had for the recreation center was close to 2.3 million of an appropriation. And so we spent more than that, and that was why the boilers were not part of the final project. And so now, and I don't know whether they'll go out again. We have had them rebuilt and repaired, but I want to be able to. I don't want the recreation center to be down again for another 2 or 3 months until we can identify funding and then, of course, repair the boilers. If we can do that possibly this summer, then we would do it, especially if we couldn't acquire funding for it. And so I'm just looking ahead of some of the projects that may come about and that we may need funding.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
On another point.
Yes, sir.
I attended the Film Museum Group meeting.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to let you know that Ms. Marujo and Ms. Angela Lister
Yes.
did an excellent job in managing the meeting and giving us the updates and really having good conversations in this. So kudos to both of them, and thank you very much for doing that. Appreciate it.
They have done, they have really come along with the film industry. We're actually advertising in quite a few of the publications, and so it's all dealing with them and what they have done and what they really love to do. That's that's what they enjoy doing, and so yes, they have done.
Hopefully we
very
can
good job.
Approach the lodgers tax board
Absolutely.
too.
Yes,
for
we are.
funding.
We're hoping to be able to, I believe that lodgers tax will allow us to spend a dollar amount of up to a certain threshold. And so if we can do that, then we're going to join in with other film industries in the Santa Fe areas, and so that we can also be part of that group. So we're looking forward to that.
One more. In regards to water leaks. I had a community member telling me that he had a water leak in his place, and within 15 minutes, Ms. Gilberry, your staff, went there and just got it fixed, and he was really pleased, and we want to thank you and your staff for doing that. So just want to let you know.
Thank you, and you know what, they've gotten very, they've mastered the water leak, they've mastered the water leak process, and so,
kudos to the utility.
yes, and they really have done an awesome job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Howell. Councilor Olivari.
Mayor, Ms. Gallegos,
Yes.
on your request, appropriation request, I don't see too much on, I know we're going to do Hot Springs Boulevard and this, but I don't see too much anything else like sidewalks on the west side or in the east side. I've been here for almost 2.5 years as a councilman, and I haven't seen too much going on stuff like that. I don't know, can the councilman or the mayor go and talk to the senators and talk to them about sidewalks and other things on the west and east side part of the city?
You're free to, of course, I wouldn't ever tell you not to go, but what we like to do is do a group effort so that we all know that all of the these are the projects that we are asking for funding. And of course, as I said, you're free to contact anyone. We didn't put any appropriations or any requests for sidewalks or anything, whether it be at east and or at west. We try to stick to the same projects so that we're all consistent with what we are looking for, but you know, that would be something that you would have to
So they do fund your request and say we talked to one of the senators and they do fund some sidewalks for some streets of the west or east side. We still can go out there and talk to them, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Excuse me. What I'd want to direct you to do, Ms. Gallegos, is could you please provide, if you haven't already, a form, the lobbying request form for each and every single governing body member?
Absolutely.
This way they can lobby freely and openly once you sign that form with each and every legislator. Okay?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, Councilor.
Thank you.
Councilor Casey.
I think that the point that Councilor Olivari made is kind of confirming what my concern has been, is that you met with the department directors to get their input on legislative needs, but you never met with us to ask us what we thought we need. And so we didn't have any say in what those requests would be or what they are. We've not even seen the requests, so we have no idea what you're asking for other than what we've read in the newspaper. So I would really like to have a copy of whatever it is that you're requesting so that I know I can go to Santa Fe and lobby as a citizen, not particularly as a councilwoman, and I can be, I would probably not do that because I feel like I don't represent the whole council, I represent my own ideas. But, you know, we want to lobby for certain things. Sidewalks on the west side, we've never had sidewalks on the west side. There are parts in my district on the east side, on Pecos and Commerce and all those streets that don't have sidewalks either. Those are good things that we would have liked to have seen on that list, but we haven't had that opportunity to even request to add it to our list. So, you know, I really think that the lack of communication is a real issue. We are here as a governing body, but we're excluded from governing, we're excluded from, you know, giving input on issues that are important to the city. And so I would like to request a list as soon as possible so that I can see it. I would like to have it emailed to me by tomorrow morning if possible, so that I can see it, so that when I go to Santa Fe, I go to Santa Fe not just on Las Vegas Day, but other times, I would like to know what I'm lobbying for. And I would like to be able to talk to people and say, these are our needs, this is what, Las Vegas needs. And unfortunately, I won't be able to say the council had input into this list because we haven't. And so I think that in the future, we need to be consulted on those issues because they're very important. And we know what our wards need. We know what our constituents need. We know what they want. They stay in communication with us. And all of us have our own ideas as to what should have been included on that list, but we didn't have that opportunity to participate.
Okay, on that note,
Madam Mayor,
Counselor-
may I respond? Actually, what happened was those projects were taken directly off of the ICIP plan that you voted on. And what we did is we took the top priorities that you people had voted on, and we turned them into legislative requests. Yes, I did. We came to mayor and council. We had you approve the ICIP plan. Each and every one of those projects is part of the ICIP plan. And so then we went to the department directors, and they were able to also identify what their needs were. And each and every one of those projects was part of the ICIP plan. And so I can provide you with a listing, I can provide you with the ICIP plan, and then I can also provide you with the legislative requests, because they're all within the same plan is what they were. So maybe I didn't make myself clear, but that's what it was.
I know that they were on the ICIP plan. However, I still think that we would have liked to have participated in the process so that if there was something else that we thought was necessary, in addition to what is on the ICIP, that we should have had that opportunity to give that input. That's my point.
I understand, and I your concerns, but I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Staples, that you did mention it in a meeting.
I mentioned it several times, I believe I did.
Exactly.
One of the issues that we have with those legislative requests is they do go directly to the ICIP plan to see if they are included in there. And so we try to identify projects that are part of the ICIP, but as I've stated to Mr. Ulibarri as well as to you, Councilor Casey, is by all means, if you have other projects, we'll be glad to even assist you with the paperwork and any of those other things, because we want to be able to identify the projects that you have and that you have, and I'll provide you with the ICIP plan as well, once again.
If I can, and I know I had brought this up, and yes, you had mentioned it, but I think,
yes, sir.
Like Councilor Ulibarri and Councilor Casey had mentioned, and I guess I'm just repeating them, but one thing that could have been added, had we discussed this more, is maybe a general appropriation for street repair or ADHD, compliance within the city. Just, the set amount of appropriation. Yes, there's a lot of money out there, but there's a lot of entities that need that money, and it's tough. And I think, looking at other entities, the county, they're asking for an appropriation for roads, and I think that's something that maybe we could have done, and with some input from all of us, if we get one big lump sum, well then from there, I know roads now, with the weather, we're gonna have a lot of potholes, and that's gonna affect the budget.
It does.
That's a good point, and I appreciate that, because I did speak, and I think I announced it at the last meeting. I spoke to some, he texted me, he stated that he will be speaking to the governor on behalf of the city for roads. So that's something that's in there. So he's going to probably sponsor that bill independently, but it's really difficult, and I'm not trying to make excuses for the administration. I'm being very honest, to have predicted this kind of weather. I knew we were going to get some snow, not to the severity that we did, which is a wonderful thing. We're very blessed. But also, it is really critical that the projects are tied into the ICIP plan. When I worked at DFA, one of the key conditions of funding projects was tying them into the ICIP. So it's going to be really difficult unless it goes through an independent legislature, like Stephen Campos now has committed to that. to assist us with road funding. So I'm hoping that that goes through. And now, as I've stated to Ms. Gallegos, please get those lobbying forms, whether they choose to lobby independently or they choose to lobby as a council. Please understand that those projects that we're lobbying for, that went through the directors and through the city manager, I had no input with that whatsoever. They worked off strictly off the ICLP plan. Will be hopefully funded, and we're hoping to be successful. There's a lot of work projects out there, and we're hoping that we get some of ours funded, at least our top 3 out of the 6 that were submitted as a priority. There's no assurances that we're going to get that, but if Senator Campos is willing to go to the government and sponsor a bill himself independently, as he has stated to me, and I've read that message and read it into the record, I believe, last meeting, then we'll accept that. That's wonderful. But I think it's a good idea that you get the lobbying forms, and they can choose to lobby either independently or, but as long as I think they stay connected or strictly to the ICIP plan, because those are the ones that are going to be looking at funding.
And that's, you know, I guess I was going to bring this up in my.
Oh, I forgot to say, but he's going to look at it under an emergency. And I did state that.
Well, that's what, you know, that was one of my questions
Yeah.
later on for my council's report to you and to the city manager, as to a declaration of emergency, if the request has been submitted by you to the governor yet, or?
No, at this point in time, we'd have to actually have, he's working on that to see if we can, if he can declare an emergency, if he's able to work with that. And then we have to work with the Leo Maestas, correct?
Yes.
To see if it is declared. We can't do that.
Yeah.
It'd have to come from them. If it comes from them and it is a state of emergency, then I will go ahead and work very closely with Senator Campos to get that going.
Isn't the governor the one that submits?
Well, no, I would sit down with him and he would submit it to the governor.
And then the other point.
But they're the ones that declare the emergency.
The other point, since we're talking about, you know, lobbying and all that,
Mhm.
you know, an important part, I too, you know, like you met individually with, you know, Senator Campos.
I know.
I've done that a couple
I
times.
don't have a problem with that.
The thing that worries me, and I asked it in the meeting, is, you know, who was going to do the lobbying for us, and I think it's important that, you know, and I know this is, you know, you mentioned that you don't like a lobbyist, but I think in this
It's not that I
case,
don't like the lobbyists, I don't see them to be as effective as ourselves. I've worked with many lobbyists in the past in my experience, and
I guess it depends which lobbyist you get, but anyways, the reason why I bring this up is because, you know, these lobbyists are there all day long.
do you have a recommendation?
Not really, there's a few, but what I'm bringing is that they're there all day long, and not only in the capital outlay requests, there's gonna be money in speaking with some of the representatives, that there's gonna be money in other departments, that they'll be funding, you know, additional money in there, and out of those pots, you know, there might be requests that we could ask, you know, through in there, and those lobbyists, you know, they know the system, and I think Councilor Casey could vouch for this, is that, you know, they're there, they know, okay, well, public safety was given an extra 5 million or whatever, and, you know, from there, maybe we could get something for PD, you know, and those are the extra funds that, not just capital, yes, there's gonna be a surplus, and there's gonna be a lot of money in capital outlay, but there's those other funds that I think, you know, I think that we could go after, and it's hard to send city manager, you know, you have so much going on in here, I know, you know, the department heads, you know, they're doing their stuff here, and to send them every time something comes up, you know, takes away from the city. And
Well, I think our best lobbyists, from my experience working with lobbyists, when I worked with many of the representatives and senators as a legislative analyst, actually come from within your own area. And that's usually your senators, it's usually your representatives, your council. And they're more familiar with what's out there. I can assure you, I have seen Senator Campos, and not to brag, in action. And he is exceptionally familiar with every single bill, where the monies are going.
And the hard part is, you know, when he's in committees, there's other committees that are going on, you know, appropriations committees. And those
And
other
that's why
committees-
he has employees to keep him abreast of everything that's occurring. He's very, very effective. I've seen him.
We'll do our best. I'm just, you know, I think, you know, now's an opportunity to, you know, to go and get that money, and it's gonna be hard, you know, Councilor Casey and yourself. And
But see, one
guys are
of the-
retired, and you have more time to go and lobby more than what I or.
One of the experiences I've had with lobbyists is that essentially you have your senator, your representative, and your council or commissioners pushing for the same bill that essentially is going to be secured. And then that lobbyist will come in and say, well, I secured this, and it wasn't the lobbyist who secured it. So there's a lot of conflict with that. You know, I'm sorry, I don't support a lobbyist. I think we're doing
I
it.
see different area, you know, the capital outlay requests that they request, but they know more insight into, like I said, the different pots, and from there, you know, this is available. Why don't you guys, just my 2 cents.
In the past, we would actually attend the legislature.
And one thing that I'm doing, you know, and I know, you know, we don't want to commit the court. You know, when I go, I'm inviting also, you know, a commissioner and a school board member to show that unity from, you know, us support their programs and vice versa. And I would ask, you know, you guys do, you know, that, you know, maybe do that, and it shows sort of a, you know, a unity. I know in Santa Fe, sometimes they say, well, you know, every entity, they're in Vegas, they're, you know, they're always fighting for their own. So I think, you know, it's one thing that we need to, you know, support each other in our requests.
Okay, thank you very much.
One final thing, Madam Mayor, members of the council, if you have projects that you would like specifically for us to look at, they may not be on the ICIP plan, but I believe that that deadline to submit the legislative request is in February. So by all means, please contact me and we can continue to write something up. I know we need dollar amounts and areas that you would like us to specifically look at. By all means, contact us.
Last day for bill introduction is February 14th.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so we still have time. We're still working with them. Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, I can ask one more. And
absolutely.
I sort of wanted to get an update on the Las Vegas night. I know you had mentioned about, you know, sending invitations going in,
yes, sir.
You know, the end of beginning of February.
Yes, sir.
Let me call Ms. Marujo because she's the one handling it. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Ms. Marujo, please come up.
And I was just wondering if something could be done sooner, you know, as you know, something's happening in Santa Fe every night.
Yes.
And longer we wait, you know, they're going to commit to other
possibly
to other events. So, you know, even if it's a digital, you know, even if you have something digital right now, I know a few legislators, I know, you know, the mayor does, each one of us do, that maybe we could submit to them, you know, just so that it's, you know, they get that before they make the commitments.
Yeah, I've sent out an email to all of them twice already. And I can also send that to you if you want to send it directly to them as well.
And then
that's no problem. As far as the invitations, the only reason we haven't got those yet is because we have to go through the procurement process and we haven't gotten our final quote to submit the quotes to continue with the purchase of the invitations. We have everything ready for it. We're just waiting on the last quote to be able to move forward with it. We are going to be there quite a few times between now in February. We'll be there Friday. We're going to be there again in 2 weeks for the New Mexico Hospitality Association conference and meeting, so we'll be going there. We could take them there then as well. Plus the Film Week, which is going to be February 12th through the 18th. We'll be down there during that time as well. And then, of course, hopefully we'll have everything by then so that we're ready for the 28th when it comes around. But that invitations-wise, that's the only reason we haven't sent them out is because we're trying to follow the procurement process. So we'll wait for that last one in order to be able to move forward. But I can send the emails out to you guys. So
and then the other thing, I know you had mentioned, you know, the local elected officials here. I was able to speak to, you know, both school districts, you know, having colleagues on both sides, and I asked them if they knew about the date, and they still hadn't.
yeah, we've left several messages. We've gone by to see them, and we just haven't been able to make contact with them. Angie, when she's out, she stops by the schools to try to make contact. And so if you can get them to even contact us, since you speak with them, I mean, that would be good. But it's just that we haven't been able to make that contact with them directly. We've left messages. I mean, we've left messages with the students. Like I say, Angie and myself have.
Well, what I meant was the elected leaders. All of them.
And I'll be glad to. I can get a hold of the superintendents and the presidents and give them the direct message and have
even
them,
if it's a digital copy for now, an email.
I'll do that. I can do that.
And the superintendents are the ones that we've actually been trying to contact, and we just haven't been They haven't returned any messages.
Could you come up, please? We can't hear you. Sorry.
We did hear back from West Las Vegas Superintendent, and he's going to be available. They're going to be putting up a table. I haven't heard yet from East Las Vegas, but we are following up on that every single day. So.
And the other part, if you could explain how you said Pecos and Mora, how are they tying into this? What are they?
Sponsors?
Yeah, they do the same thing as the county. So everybody is putting in a certain amount of money to basically be a sponsor and be a part of it. So when we do have the Las Vegas day at Roundhouse and we have the night at the Fonda, they're going to be able to also put up tables and talk about what they're, what they were lobbying for, what they were doing during their whole time at the legislature. We were really pushing for the schools, mostly because February 28th is higher education day at the legislature. So we're really focusing on that, and in turn, we're trying to make them see and understand that we're all trying to work together as communities, not just as Las Vegas, but as surrounding communities in Las Vegas and everybody coming together, just as, and I know Councilor Howe was the only one at the meeting for the film, but we did the same thing with the film, and we're trying to do the same thing with legislature and anything else that we can involve everybody in surrounding areas with. And that's why Pecos and Mora ended up becoming involved with it.
So I know like presentations last year, I think schools presented, but West wasn't. So is that every entity now allotted time or what?
We've asked who wants to present and at what time.
Actually, they were
schools.
asked.
Yes.
And they didn't show up.
And yeah, because we have a schedule and everything, so.
We're trying to make the contacts with them and
I would
make it
suggest that you get something in writing and then let them decline it in writing, because last year some of them got the invite but just didn't show up. And then later we're stating that we never notified them.
And when we are talking to them, we're asking because, not just that, but because of the audit that we dealt with trying to find documentation for last year. So this year what we're doing is we're making everybody send us something in writing as far as not only sponsorship, but wanting to be a part of it and also speech-wise. So we've gotten a couple of emails telling us when they want to speak and where they want to speak at. If they want to do it during the day or they want to do it at night. And we have set aside a certain time for all those speeches.
Okay, and then the last question, sorry, Madam Mayor.
No, continue.
The last question, I know, rooms, I called the Fonda. We never allocated a slot.
No, and the reason why is because they, way before we even started talking about legislature, they have a huge educational conference that's happening at La Fonda, and they basically rented all the rooms except for 2 I was able to get. So all of us are basically getting rooms at Inn of the Governors or at some other hotel because they had all the rooms already sold out for the education conference.
And that's happened in the past.
They told me they had rooms, but there were 200, and I asked them,
Oh yeah, that's if you want like
Yeah,
suites
yeah.
and.
Oh, okay. That's what- but
Yeah,
they
feel
did
free
say
to
they
get one
had
of those, but.
No, we're on a budget.
Yeah.
But just next time, because I know we don't have to pay for it, you just say, since we're getting the Fonda, can you allocate, let's say, 30 rooms? Because I know, between the school district and the city, everybody, and get that rate.
Yeah, and normally
But if
we
it's
do,
because of the,
but it's because they had did it way before we did, and so they didn't have any.
We contacted them very early.
Yeah, usually we get the Fonda rooms, which are very convenient because you just go from the 2 rooms.
all right, thank you. And if I could help in any way, and I'm sure all of us,
Well, call
we
me.
all have.
Give him a lobby form, please. He's been doing it already. I know he has, so that's great.
Thank you.
I know
Thank you
she
very much.
mentioned that the deadline was in February, and like I say, we're going to be going up and down several times during that time. So if you guys do come up with something, we do have to submit more.
And
we're
put
gonna be going
a little push on the actual confirmation for the RSVPs for speakers and attendees. That would be good. Make sure you get a new one.
And we'll be presenting them with the deadline soon because it's getting close to the timing. So we need to make our agendas so we can make it available to you.
Thank you for all you do, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you,
Councilor Romero,
girls.
any other questions? Okay, let's continue.
The next item is the finance report, and Ms. Vega has taken ill. I'll be glad to present the report if I'm allowed to do so, or if you would like to wait for Ms. Vega, we could do either one.
Continue.
In December, which is the 50% of the year has lapsed, it's amazing how quickly time goes by. We've received 49% of our revenues in our general fund. The property taxes are the ones, those are the big, that will be coming in January. And so that 35% that you see up on the top under property tax will probably go up to 50-60%. But we're doing very well with our revenues. Our expenditures are at 40%, and those are by the departments. And we've had 13 pay periods that have passed through December 31st, 2018, and so we're looking at a good budget year, and we continue to move forward, watch our expenditures, make sure that the departments have adequate funding for their departments, and working with the departments. We'll be also planning the budget process pretty quickly. And so if you have any recommendations or anything that we can include as part of our budget, by all means, let us know, and we'll move forward. We'll be working with the various departments on their individual budgets pretty quickly. The next department is the enterprise fund. And the enterprise funds, they as well have done quite well with their revenues. The natural gas, of course, is below the 50% because we don't have the colder months. We'll start seeing the revenues come up. But they've collected overall in the enterprise fund, they've collected 45% of their revenues. Their expenditures are at 36%, and that's mainly dealing with the cost of the natural gas as well. That'll be increasing within the next couple of months, since we will be paying the natural gas, the higher natural gas, expending more in the natural gas department than anyone else. Other than that, though, they remain at the 36% in expenditures and 45%, very close to the 50% threshold as of December 31st, 2018. In the recreation fund, they as well are at 42%. They have come a long ways. It's amazing what they have done, and I didn't say this before, and I should have. I had it on my notes. They are starting their YABL program, and they have 24 teams from within the community, and so they are going to be extremely busy. But it's nice to see that many teams up and running at the recreation department, and so we'll be seeing a lot of people across the street. They are at 42% of their revenues and 37% as far as their expenditures, and so we continue to work with the recreation department as well. And with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Questions, comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is consent agendas.
Council Casey.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented, and that all 8 items be read into the record by the city clerk.
Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Mayor.
I remember asking on the consent agenda in regards to the Mills project, or Stoven Electric, or Stoven Construction.
Yes, sir.
That I would be able to get a listing of the projects that they have.
Do you want to pull that from the consent and move it into the?
Well, no. I was just disappointed. No.
It's part of the packet.
I was just disappointed that I didn't get that information. But so I went and I looked at, did my own research and got information that I needed. But I just felt that it was disappointing that I didn't get it. So, but
I believe it was part of the packet, Councillor Howell. Am I correct? Yes, we provided it as part of the final packet for tonight's meeting.
Okay.
Oh.
No one informed me, so I didn't.
There's
Okay.
33 pages in there.
All right. I'll second the motion on the consent agenda.
Roll call.
I was supposed to receive a call, but that's okay.
Madam Mayor, I will read that into the record. Consent agenda consists of 8 items. The first item is approval of Traffic Safety Bureau grant funds for the Las Vegas Police Department for overtime to conduct NDWI buckle up and step operations throughout the city. Item 2, approval of resolution number 19-02, assuring the availability of funds for the lease purchase of a new 2018 Elgin Whirlwind dual broom sweeper. Item 3, approval of resolution number 19-03, assuring the availability of funds for the purchase of a new 2019 Ford F-750 bucket truck. Item 4, approval to award request for bid number 2019-05 for the Mills Building Rehabilitation Project to Stovin Construction Incorporated. Item 5, approval to purchase 1 transport trailer for the Solid Waste Division. Item 6, approval of resolution number 19-04, repealing and replacing resolution 18-43. Item 7, approval of resolution number 19-05, repealing and replacing resolution 18-45. And item number 8, approval of resolution number 19-06, that is the bar. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
very much. Roll call.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Howell?
Yes.
Have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, are the business items. Number 1 is the approval, disapproval to purchase 1 transport truck for the solid waste division. Ms. Gilberry? Thank you.
Ms. Gilberry.
Thanks, ma'am. Madam Mayor, councilors, Madam Manager, we did present this last week, and I know that Councilor Romero had asked for some additional information. I did want to address his concern or his question, which was on a warranty. We did get a listing of extended warranties or aftermarket warranties from Truckmasters. They do include $250 or $500 deductibles. It is an additional about 9%. That's a $4,500 to get a 24-month warranty. With some of the concerns that we've had with, there's a diesel additive, and there are some concerns with all semis. I think I'm going to go ahead and request that we be able to get the 24-month warranty. There's a good chance that it's a $4,500 that we will spend, and we may never use it, and maybe that's a good thing. But if there is an incident over the next 24 months with, and this is for the engine, for the first 12 months, it will include water pumps, fuel injectors, fuel pump, and ECMs. So it does include several major components in the vehicle. But that $4,500, if we do have a serious issue with the vehicle, we'll take care of those. So that's an additional 9% on top of it. I've dealt with warranties before, and sometimes they concern me that they're a waste of money. I think in this case, because we're buying a used vehicle, that it would be worth it even if we don't end up needing it. The other point that I wanted to make was we had Diego take a look at the old semi again, and he was able to get it operational. It's not perfect. It is operational. We may be able to get some more miles out of it. We're not going to be able to rely on it for very long, though. So with the need to be able to get rid of the green waste, the need to be able to haul more trash in the mornings, which has unfortunately resulted in us having an overflowing transfer station, it's still important that we be able to purchase another semi. But we're really hoping that we can make a little bit more use out of that existing semi that Diego believes that he can get a little bit more mileage out of without it being too too much.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments? Councilor Romero.
Maria, thank you for, I know, my concern was the warranty that, was coming with the vehicle. It's right at that mileage, especially on a diesel. And I know Councilor Yildirim could probably vouch to this, is, once it hits a certain point, and I think this one's right almost at that point, then you start having those maintenance issues, and, that they are costly, and that's the concern that I had. Of course, we do need that backup. We don't want to run into a situation where our trucks are down and we're stuck with the whole trash situation again.
I would rather have the warranty and not need it than not have the warranty and
so I would, I know it's a little more, but I think it's something that's well worth, the $4,000 that, that of the cost. The other thing is, and I spoke to you prior to the meeting, is, seeing what we can do as a city to ensure that that other truck, can get the most out of it, and you're looking into that, so thank you, because, we can't just depend on one truck, we need to,
Absolutely.
there might be that time we need both of them, and, even if it's a one-time trip, it helps out.
And replacing one vehicle with one semi with one semi is not actually going to help us get a handle on the additional trash that we need to haul and the additional green waste that we need to haul. So being able to get hopefully a few more years out of this older semi, and Diego has done some amazing work in some situations, and I think this is one where he's able to get it working for us again. But we will make sure that it is safe for our staff to drive.
And let me ask this, I guess this would be a question towards legal is, 'cause you had that, I guess he had mentioned to you before that, that it wasn't cost effective to do that. So my thinking was, I know, there's another business, and I know we're under contract with him, and I'm just wondering to legal, what are the legalities to get a second opinion on that vehicle? Could we do that without, without, interfering with the contract that we have with Diego?
Would you like to defer that question to the attorney?
Yes, sorry about that.
I'm not sure. I would ask Maria if she has any idea. I'm not sure.
Well, he does have first chance on all of our vehicles because we do have a contract with him unless there's a reason not to. And my understanding is that he's got a way to get it operational again. So since he already has the contract, I would work with him in this. If he comes back and says he doesn't think he can get it operational, then I would take it to a second mechanic.
And that's what I was, prior to you mentioning, that he was able to, to bring it back. And I was just going to ask that question, is what if we get a second opinion from another?
Yeah, I think if he can't get it operational, absolutely, there would be no issue with giving a chance to a second mechanic. To not give him the chance, first off, might be a question there.
Yeah.
But I believe he's already trying to get it operational, or may have already got it somewhat operational, and we're just trying to find out what else we have to do. But yes, absolutely, Counselor, if it does not work, I will go to a second diesel mechanic to have them to get a second opinion.
You just get a second opinion and not
Yes,
committing anything.
we can do that.
Mayor and council, if that were to happen, I would get together with Maria and look at that issue.
Any other questions? What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor, I
Councilor
move
Casey.
approval of the purchase of a transport truck for solid waste.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Let's continue.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The second item on the business items is the approval, disapproval of Resolution 19-07. This was added on to the work session for discussion only. It was discussed by Ms. Vega. It was doing a resolution for a total amount of $24,300. And this was a New Mexico Department of Public Safety grant for overtime, salaries, confidential fees, supplies, and vehicle maintenance.
Questions, comments? What's the pleasure of the board?
I move approval of Resolution 1907 for the transfer and acceptance of the 24,000, whatever it was, dollars. I don't know where it's not written down here, so I don't have the exact amount, but that it'd be approved.
$24,300.
24,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much.
The third item on the business items is the approval, disapproval of Resolution 19-01, open meetings resolution. And we have Ms. Cassandra Frescas.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, this is our annual resolution that is brought to the council every January, and this is required by our Open Meetings Act. So it gives reasonable notice of all our council meetings, including our work sessions, our regular meetings, our special and emergency meetings. And also included in there are a listing of all of our boards, commissions, and advisory committees are listed there. And this helps us so that we don't have to pay every time to advertise for each of these meetings. So if they're listed there on their location, their time that they need, then you don't have to advertise every month or every quarter, whatever it's required of that. I'll go ahead and stand for your question.
Questions, comments? Councilor Moore.
Just one question, and my question pertains to the boards and commissions that we have, under the city umbrella. One of them, the Charter Commission, the Campaign Ethics Board, that I know we've had issues, as far as attendance. My question to legal is, we're saying that these are going to happen, so what did we do to cover ourselves because they're not happening? A quorum was not just that, or what are we doing to publish that these aren't happening?
Well, I think that we have, each department that has commissions that they work with have prepared a list for the city manager. And with that list, she will, I think they're looking at filling or bringing before council vacancies so we can get them appointed and get our commissions going again.
And I guess what I'm asking is, those that aren't happening, what are we doing to ensure? Because basically, this resolution, we're saying these aren't going to happen. See, they're not happening, so what are we?
Listen, under the charter, there's only so many that by charter law have to be happening for certain. That's lodger's tax. Would you list them? Cassandra, I'm sure you're familiar with them. The Design Review Board, Planning and Zoning, Lodger's Tax, Police Advisory Commission. I don't believe ETZ is in the charter. I don't recall that being in there. So what we're doing essentially, Campaign and Ethics Committee, I believe, is in there. There's
Yes.
about 5 committees.
And I think to answer, if I may,
Yes, of
Madam Mayor,
course.
to answer Councilor Romero's question is should one of these meetings not be happening, what they do is they put a notice out to cancel the meeting. It's what each department
And that's what
director
it is,
should be
that's
doing.
what And I know, Madam Mayor, the only thing is just, I know my experience with doing these, again, with the schools is, one thing that we changed on ours is the mandatory meeting at the Valley. And, we were warned that, remember, once you put this in there that you're going to have that meeting, you better have that meeting. So my question is, what are we doing to cover to ensure, basically the public can come and say, well, you said you're going to have this meeting, but you're not. So I'm just, making sure that we're covering, there's not a quorum, and we're documenting that type of information. Is what I'm asking.
And we met with department directors and we reviewed the resolution. We reviewed all of the boards and committees. And so what I also asked them to go, we went one step further and I asked them to let us know whether there was any vacancies that needed to be filled so we can take them back to mayor and then of course bring them back to mayor council for approval. And so we're going to be moving that direction. And then of course, making sure that we're getting the reports in for each one of the committees.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? It's a pleasure of the board.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of Resolution 1901, the open meetings resolution as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Howell?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Ilibarri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Ilibarri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilors' reports. I think you've asked all the questions.
Not really. I was prepared for this one, but I did, I did share, with Anna Marie, a few of them. I just wanted, if you had the update on the Tilden property. I know
We have a new code enforcement officer. So the last time that we did visit with Levi on the Tilden property, they had semi-cleaned it up. And so he was going to send them an additional notice because I believe that they have 2 notices before we go in. And so, but that'll be one that I will follow up on and then let you know what
and
the
the reason
status
why is I
is.
know, they did take,
Yes, they
the
did.
cleanup last, but now there's some other stuff.
Is there? Okay.
And it's becoming, it's like habitual already.
Yes, sir.
that's
And I know it's
becoming-
3 homes. And I'll follow up with it and then I'll let you.
And that's what I was
give you
going
an
to,
update. Yes, sir.
another next step is, if we have, if there's something that we could work on as far as the ordinance, because it takes a lot of time, to go through the steps, they do it, but it becomes habitual. So it might be something that we don't have to go through those steps once it becomes habitual.
Okay.
I suggest, I know.
He was left his own date now.
We can at least review it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
We're legal.
Okay, the next thing that I just got a text message the lights in the plaza area, once that leak, they repaired that leak. I guess the lights have been off in the plaza area since the leak. I don't know.
Go ahead.
They had a water leak up at the Plaza Park, and when utilities were digging into the leak, they turned off the main power. And we already ordered all the parts.
Okay.
And I got to Archie, and Yuri gave it for us, and it'll be a couple of hours.
Okay, so,
And we're just waiting on parts.
okay, all right.
And that was stated, I think, last meeting, but also, didn't that happen with Carnegie as well? Something similar where we had to get hold of P&M? Or was that different?
No, that was different.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for the update.
We'll get it fixed, Mr. Romero.
Okay. And then the other thing, I had an opportunity to run into former school board colleagues from another area. And I think West Las Vegas schools, they're doing their mill levy election.
Yes.
The reason why they're doing that is because
Mail-in.
there's that HB 98 elections law
Yes.
that passed. So in all that, they asked me about, well, isn't the city discussing, are you guys moving your elections or not? So my question is, why haven't we done that yet?
I'll answer to that. I have a lot of issues with it. First of all, if we, and this is my review and opinion, if we move into changing the election, then there's going to be a bridge of contract to the current elected officials because it's going to cut you short. So I don't want litigation coming forward to the city stating, well, you cut our election short by 4 months. So that was one of my biggest concerns. The other thing would be that we're not honoring your sworn-in date. So again, everything ties into the actual bridge of contract and the charter. We would have to change the charter. That's another issue that the attorney and I and the city manager have discussed. So there's a lot of concerns with the issue of litigation.
Because I did research on it.
And that's fair.
And I saw that some municipalities, they're either extending the terms
Actually,
or
about
decreasing the terms.
110 that have been, that are actually in municipal aid, only about, my understanding was 11 to maybe 12 have chosen to partake in that. That's the last report that I got. Do you have any other reports? Because I did ask you to follow up on that.
I did get a phone call today from the Mexican Municipal League, and they said a handful, basically,
Exactly,
that have
about 10 to
opted
11
in.
out of the 110 to 100.
And just reviewing, the bill itself, the cost, and I did check into what we're paying and, the schools are mandatory. They have to, their elections are November no matter what. But just the cost of the election, if we were to go this route, it's $250 per 1 million of operating budget, which, the cost for an election is very.
Like what, 25,000?
Right now, we pay about close to 30 for both the runoff and the regular election. So it would be about, I think it is 13,000 or so if we opted into having the county do it.
So are we in violation by not?
No, we're not. That we can either choose to opt in or opt out. And after review, further review and discussion with the attorney and also the municipal attorneys out there, pretty much it would be in violation of the charter, and also it would preempt the election 4 months prior to.
But wouldn't that decision have come from us?
No, I don't believe it does, actually. It's just something that you can put on the agenda and you can choose to opt in. Am I correct?
The choice
Based on state statute, that's what I read.
is to opt in, opt out, or do nothing. There is a problem in it, not a possible problem in that the city is a charter
Exactly.
community, and how it would affect municipalities with chartered. Additionally, it's my understanding the legislature will look at the local election act this year and still continue to change it and iron out some bugs.
Oh, that was another question, exactly.
Okay, I just what I read up on it was that we made the decision and. Okay.
I'd like to follow up on that.
Absolutely, Councilor.
Even if you have seen all these issues, is still a question of the governing board making that decision and at least discussing it. And so
Well, we can
I
discuss it,
think,
but the governing board doesn't make that decision.
excuse me, I'm still talking. If we still have to have, I think, as a governing board, whether we make the decision or not, to at least discuss it and talk about it.
We are discussing it.
I know, but it's never been on the agenda. And I think it should be on the agenda so that we can vote and say we opt out or we opt in, or for whatever reasons we give, but I think we should be given that opportunity. And you should not be making the sole decision for the entire governing board.
I will not put it on the agenda, Councilor Casey. I'm going to make that clear to you right away. It is a violation of the city charter. It is a violation of the contractual obligation to each elected official, and I will not do that. I'm sorry. I cannot put the city in a litigious situation because you want to vote on something that might put us in pretty hot. Nothing. So that's my response to you. Okay, let's continue. Any other questions?
Counselor, you're on counselor's reports, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Counselor Casey.
Thank you.
Are you done, Counselor Romero? You have the floor.
That's it. I think everything else was.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Casey.
Thank you. My questions are all also with code enforcement. There were 3 pending code enforcement issues that Levi was working on, and now that he's not there, they're kind of, I don't know where they are. And so I'm concerned about the status because I get emails and phone calls from these people all the time, and I don't know what to tell them. The last time I talked to one woman, she was very upset, and she says, well, what's going to happen? The, skunks and the mattresses in the yard next door are, they're spreading, the vermin is spreading into my yard. And so one of them is on 6th Street, 1309, I think, or 1306, I can't remember the address.
1309?
That was Dalton's property. And then there's another one at 310 3rd Street, and the other one is at 1210 2nd Street. And those 3 call me constantly about those, what's happening, when are you going to do something? We did vote, I think, on the abatement of the 1306 6th Street. And so that's, what's the status of that? And so I would like to have some kind of direction as to where we're going or what's happening with those properties, because I feel like I need to at least have a halfway decent response for my constituents that call on these issues.
The 1309 6th Street, I know we're working on it. We reviewed it with the city attorney, and we didn't want to do anything before Christmas of any kind of, disrupt any kind of operations before Christmas. We were going to get back together with the department to see how quickly we take action on the 1309 6th Street. So we're working on it. It's a bit of a slow process, especially if we have to find a contractor, but we're in that process at this point. And I'll report back to you and let you know
And
how
the
quickly.
other properties?
The other, the one that we were working with was the 1309, and the 310 and the 1210 on 3rd and 2nd Street, I will have an update. I'll get an update because I know those were on our radar as well.
Okay, thank you.
So,
that's all.
Yes, many questions. Thank you, Councilor Casey. Councilor Howard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to see if we can get an update on, I understand you had mentioned that there's going to be some exciting news coming up in regards to the open.
I need clearance from our city manager before that. Well, I haven't had clearance. Hopefully by February that everything's been released. But yes, thank you for reminding me about that. So I guess nothing yet.
There is no exciting news yet.
Not yet. I'm released. Okay, that's what we
Nothing exciting. Everything's pretty.
It would be nice if we would know.
Well, we can't until it's just hoping. There should be, but
There's just so much secrecy and no transparency that really
It's not
worries
that,
me. It really does.
We would have to vet this person. correct?
Oh, no, it's nothing like that.
Or whatever it is, we should know about it.
Well,
But everything's a secret around here.
It's not that it's a secret, Counselor Casey. Can we release that information? You
No,
know
we
what I'm
can't.
talking
No,
about,
we cannot.
We can't until that department releases it, so, but there is something hopefully forthcoming that's good news. Hopefully.
Okay, but please,
It'll be on the agenda, I'm sure.
sure, but we need to know ahead of time so we can take a look at the person and really look at his or her resume. And
It's not a person.
it's not a person. We're going to have a robot as a,
It's actually a project.
A project.
A project,
Yeah.
and so that we can see.
We're almost there,
okay.
but we're not, we can't release that information. We really can't.
Okay, so maybe, are we talking about two different things?
I think we are entirely.
Because I was talking about if we're going to do something with the city manager's position.
Oh, no, it's nothing like that. No, not at this point.
Okay, but that's been,
Yes, yes. Yes,
Ongoing?
We're working on that as well.
because it's been a long time now.
Mm-hmm, yes, it has.
Okay. I'd like to also get an update on what the plan is for all the potholes. And I mean, I've received, I don't know how many, because I'm sure everyone here has the same calls. It was really important to, because I know that sometimes when we do the snow plowing, it gets onto the road and it creates more problems. Going up to the hospital, there's a major pothole there. Going on Diego Street and John Street. These are all in my area, but I'm sure you guys have your own areas. And it's very important that, I know this Duarte is working very hard in trying to get these things to do it, to get it done. But the community needs to know. I was at a barber shop today, see my hair? Pretty good.
Looks nice.
Looks nice.
And that's all I
I
heard.
like the way it looks.
And that's all I heard, is about the potholes. As soon as they know I was a counselor, boom. It's like everybody just pounced on it.
I know that, and I'll ask him to address that, but I know that
Please.
the hot mix isn't available for another 3 weeks, a month.
Hot mix
Christie?
will be ready till
Yeah.
late April. It's fall and temperature. So what we do, we order what is called QPM, quick patch material, and it's in the process. Hopefully we'll get it here within the next week. Right now we're doing the potholes with millings or temporary, just so they don't get hard. And I got guys going out every other day, building up potholes.
Okay.
We're on it.
Like to add to that, the QPM is not gonna stick on the wet roads because they're all full of water and stuff. So we gotta wait for that to dry before we can actually add the proper mix to it.
Yeah.
But once we get it, we're gonna go ahead and take care of it.
Yeah, I know it's very difficult with all this inclement weather, but we just
We'll
have to
continue to work with it.
just
Counselor.
communicate to the community. That's what is important.
That's absolutely correct.
My last comment is, I know we had mentioned that we're supporting the Samaritan House and we're doing all we can, but we just have to really understand what they're doing for our community. No one else is going to take in people that is cold and have them go into the room and rest and be warm. They're doing such a great job in helping us, this community. And to me, we have to stop, I don't want to say this, but playing games. We have to support them to make sure that they have enough support and funding to do what they're doing for this community. It's very important. They're feeding the hungry. They're clothing the people that are poor. They're taking care of people that are freezing outside. We've got to do something. This is, to me, a shame of our community for not supporting in what they are needing. CID approved them. The fire chief said that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. We got to do something. That's my comment.
Councilor Howell, I respect your statements. I too support Samaritan, and I also support the detox, hopefully future detox center that we can bring into this community. You know as well as I have that I have spoken on behalf of this. I am very proactive on this, and I believe the majority of the council does support your efforts as well. I will sit down with Anne Marie again and see where we're at with the funding. I did discuss this with you. I gave you my word, and we will look at this again. Ms. Dagos?
Yes, ma'am.
And of course, we will include our fire chief, to make certain that we're not overstepping. And then, of course, you have to also take, and I don't believe the council is being insensitive, the consideration of the council, as Councilor Romero stated here this evening, that he's concerned that because they haven't complied, if we release the money, then what is the liability to the city? Are we just throwing monies away? And those are fair questions. We're going to weigh everything. We really will. And we are attempting, now we have been working with Mr. Lyons and Samaritan, and we are going to continue to do all that we can at this level. I assure you of that, Councilor Howell. I gave you my word. I'm not going to back down from that. Okay. Thank you very much.
Can I just add real quickly to that?
Yes, of course.
I was at a meeting Saturday, and Martha Lopez, who works at Samaritan House, stated that they are in desperate need of food. And because now they have essentially, they're serving 3 meals a day because they're having day shelter too, because it's too cold for the people to be out in the cold. So they serve breakfast, lunch, and supper. Before they were serving supper. The Hillcrest restaurant gives 1 meal a week, JC's gives another meal a week, and El Comedor de San Pascual gives another meal a week, 2 meals a week. But they still do not have enough food to feed the people that are coming in to request services and food, and to be able to stay there all day instead of roaming the streets, in the icy streets and all of that. So if everyone could get the word out, I think it would be really helpful to them. If you can't take food, take a monetary donation of some kind so that they can buy what they need, because they are really desperate for food to feed everybody.
Thank you, Councilor Christie. Thank you. Councilor Olivares.
You have some comments. You have, the council case got a good thing there. Maybe we could get a donation from all our staff, all our city staffs, $1, put it together and even us, our councilors could do that too.
Well, I think if the city is able to provide
the agreement, the financial agreement,
that should pretty much take care of it till the rest of the year, at least till we get through the cold season. Let's put it like that.
My second comment is, for the past 6 months, I think they had red tagged some of the residents in the west side, well, all over town. And I know they had red tagged them. Now that Levi's gone, what's going to happen on those areas that haven't been cleaned up, or they've done a little bit of work to them,
we have somebody from community development that was working with Levi, has all of his files, and so what I'll do is I will have him review all of the red tags and then provide an update for you.
And there's
Certainly try to do that.
some trees and brush on Romero and Socorro. You can see a stop sign on it.
Romero and Socorro?
It's not.
Christie, can you get that Romero and Socorro a stop sign on
Yeah, just also.
the stop sign branches? Okay, and then I'll update them later. Okay.
And I just want to go back to the potholes, they've been calling me about potholes. Sometimes if you use sand, I don't know, if you try using sand in some millings, it'll stay a little harder. I don't know if you try using that. But they've been calling the west side, not all over the city, but the west side's got a lot of potholes all over it. So whatever you guys can do, thank you for doing whatever you can.
It's a bit of a challenge, Counselor, but we're going to try to do the best we can. Thank you.
That's all I got. Thank you.
So that concludes Counselor's report. Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, executive session, do we have need for exec, oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Councilor.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, just had like I said, I had a lot of questions this time, and I know Anna Maria had asked you an update on the governing body rules of procedure, where we're at with that.
I'll defer that over to City Attorney.
Sorry.
I feel like I just, didn't I answer this earlier?
I think you did.
I think so. I'm working on that. I have the current one. I know that the city clerk has older versions and was involved in looking at changing and making corrections and working with that and the charter to make sure and point out the areas that do not jive with each other. There's a lot of discrepancies. I'm going to meet with the city clerk tomorrow, and we're working on that project together.
Okay, and then, so let me ask you this question. In reading the current governing body rules of procedure, in there it says that we may amend some of the rules. So let's say the question as far as placing items on the agenda, if I were to request a special meeting, and in that, just say that I want to amend this portion of the governing body rules of procedure, could we do that for the meanwhile until
It would have
the
to,
research?
it has to be researched and it has to be tied into the charter because the charter governs. So let her do her review. That's the advice I would give you.
Could you have us an update? And I know it seems like, keep bringing it up, and I think we'll get to the point, even before you came, we had made a decision within 60 days we would address that, and
And then I provided you memos from then Attorney Danielle Smith, which provides a lot of clarification on that. So I would advise you to go back to those memos and you should review those.
And that's for the city clerk, is a wealth of information. She might have all those. I don't have those in my office. So I'd like to review those.
I'm not sure that those memos went to the clerk, but I know that we do. Anne Marie can have those memos.
And then, I would yield, but I have one more question, but I don't know if you had pertaining to this.
Well, I was just going to suggest that the codes of conduct that are included in the governing rules of procedure should not even be a part of the governing rules of procedure. Those should be separate documents. And they should not be put in together because one document refers to code of conduct for elected officials and the other one is for city employees. And they're kind of meshed together, and so that whole document is just so bad. And it really needs to be fixed.
And it was adopted, so yeah.
Yeah, it was adopted, but oh my gosh, what were you thinking back in 2002? It was horrible. It's poorly written and it doesn't make sense.
Okay, and then the last thing to Anna Marie, we do have some furloughed government workers in the city of Las Vegas within the forestry department and other entities. There might not be too many.
Yes, sir.
My question is the city doing anything to ensure that, if they skip a utility payment, is the city of Las Vegas looking at anything right now to?
Councilor Howell already raised that question and we just answered it before the meeting, but go ahead.
If you have anyone or if there is someone that we all know of, what we need to do is just send them over to the utility department along with their furlough letter or any kind of a document, and then we will work with them.
And that's what other agencies are doing, but
Yes, sir.
can we put out, instead of us giving you names, can we just put out that information that we're doing that for those that,
Maria, could you answer that one?
Counselor, I do know that all the furloughed employees were notified that they would have this letter, and that if they reached out, that they would get assistance. I'm a little hesitant to put a PSA out, because as I had with the water leak, I had people from Pecos asking why, if I could deliver them water. So I think sometimes when we put PSAs out, we actually open it up for people who, for other reasons, aren't able to pay their bills other than furlough. And I wouldn't want to put that burden on my employees to try and deal with a whole bunch of people who don't meet the requirements, when all furloughed employees were told, you have this letter, go ahead and use it. In addition, we already have a 60-day limit for anybody who's unable to pay their bills that it wouldn't be impacted by it. So I'd just be a little hesitant to do that.
And by law, I believe that we are not allowed to cut off gas services anyway. We have to work with the customer, and so we're doing there's different little things that we're doing at the utility level on behalf of people who have utilities who have possibly gotten behind.
Thank you.
But we are working with them.
Okay, no further questions. Council's reports are over. Executive session, is there a need for executive session? No? Yes.
I would like to make a motion to enter executive session under personnel matters as permitted by section 10-15-1H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Okay, let's go into executive.